Welcome back to another episode of the 2020 podcast, Canada's #1 optometry podcast. I am your host, Dr. Harbir Sayan. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me here to learn and to grow. And I always really appreciate all the support. I'm always so grateful. Thank you for all the liking and the sharing and everything else you do to help the podcast continue to grow. We are in the very beautiful JW Marriott Hotel in downtown Vancouver at the BC Doctors of Optometry Conference. So I want to say a huge thank you to BCDO for everything they do and for continually putting on the best optometry conference in Canada. And again, I know if you're listening to any of these episodes that we record here, I'm saying this at the beginning of every one of them because I truly believe BCDO is doing such an amazing job to continue to help optometry thrive in BC, and hosting events like this really, really does help. So, my mission with the podcast is always to bring on amazing guests that are going to help us grow personally, professionally, help the profession move forward. And my man, Dr. Pavan Avinashi, is an example, a beautiful example of that. He's a returning guest. This is your third time back on now?
I think so, yeah. And I think I did episode number 2 or 3. And
now you were definitely early on.
Now, what are you, like 200002 episode? I mean, you have killed it, man.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, listen, and thanks to you because you were one of the first guests to give me the time of day and let you come on the podcast when I had no idea what I was doing.
It's because you gave me a free bottle of vodka. I'm like, all right, fine, you can have my time.
In case you don't know Dr. Avinashi, he is the owner of a very big, busy, beautiful, successful practice called Hoya Vision Care, which has grown to now a 7 OD practice. He is a renowned speaker, consultant. He is all over the industry and really has made a mark over the years. So it's always my pleasure to have you on. Also happens to be a good friend of mine. So it's always good to have you on. Today, we're going to be talking about how you built a practice, but where premium products, premium lenses in particular have come in and really helped you build that practice. And now I say that, I forgot, I also got to say big thanks to our partner, Hoya Vision Care, for supporting this podcast and everything they do for optometry and for supporting, me as well in my journey in our clinic. So moving on.
And our profession.
Yeah. And our profession. So, Pav, let's talk about Hoya Vision.
Yeah.
If you were to kind of rewind the clock a little bit, 10 years or so, when you were like 25 years old, when you look back, what are some of the 2 or 3 key takeaways that you could share with us that you think have helped you build Hoya Vision up to where it is now?
Yeah, great question. And it actually has been 22 years since I started my practice.
Wow.
And I was 25 years old when I started my practice.
All right.
It's been a journey.
Don't do the math.
It's been a journey, no doubt about it. And through it all, we all know the concept. We don't get trained in the business aspect of how to run business acumen in our schooling, but it's full of hard knocks.
Mm.
And if I look back at the wins and the losses that have come, and I look back and I really have to kind of narrow it down to 2 or 3 things that has allowed us to grow to where we are at, is number one, constantly, and as cliche as it sounds, constantly going back to patient-centric service.
Mm.
We are healthcare providers, but when we're independents and we're trying to grow this, it is a customer service base first. And that's what I remind my staff, that's what I remind my doctors, and remind myself on a daily, is that we are there to, number one, service to the best of our ability, each patient that walks in. If we don't make that patient, I don't care if I've been seeing Mrs. Jones for 22 years in a row, if I don't make that last eye exam, the best eye exam, the best experience, and the best overall, just kind of take home good feeling at the end of that visit, I probably have failed, or my team has failed. And that person may not come back to us next year. There's too many competitive options. There's too many channels to look at to get eye care providers now. So patient-centric service, and that's what we really focus on team building. Number 2, you could be a great eye doctor, but you're only as good as your team. And if my staff don't deliver the same caliber of professionalism, customer service, and respect to each patient, that patient, again, will choose to go somewhere else. People have more selections of being more finicky on who the providers are. So to help that, we really focus on building a team culture that creates retention, happiness in the workplace, and then growth as well. So that's the second thing I think is really critical, is team culture.
The culture, yeah.
And again, you may hear this through a lot of your colleagues and talking to a lot of clinician doctors out there, ECPs out there, is in this busy, competitive market, how do you stay a step ahead? You've got to constantly differentiate yourself. Differentiating yourself with diagnostics, with therapeutics, with service, with the aesthetics. We can have a whole talk on how to differentiate practice.
Right.
But I think that's the most important.
That's awesome. Okay, so patient-centric, culture, and differentiation. Those are the 3 sort of big things that you think have really helped. And we're going to talk a little bit about differentiation as we talk about premium products and premium sales and things like how it maybe helps you differentiate as 100%. Well. It's really amazing. And I feel like I see that when I come to your practice. I can see the team culture and, the way that everybody works in the practice, and all comes from you as the leader. So tell me, we're going to go down the other conversation for a second, but as a leader, how do you start? I know I said the whole topic on its own, but what do you start with if you're trying to develop a strong culture in your clinic?
That's a good question. How do you develop a strong culture? I think it comes down to just respect. Showing the staff members that it doesn't matter if they're coming on as the newest staff at their first job, being paid the lowest in the totem pole, and they have no experience in industry, respecting them as much as you do the staff member that's been there with you 22 years. That is, essentially you got certifications or diplomas or as an optometrist. You treat each staff member the same. And that's what I want them to reciprocate with a patient care as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we're getting a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company as one of our patients that's been loyal to us every year for the last 22 years, or a first-time patient that can't afford much, that communication may be a gap and respect may be an issue. We have to treat them the same way and give them the same caliber of service and care.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do with my staff as well.
Start with the respect. I love that. So this is an independent private practice, Harbir. How has being independent been valuable or important in your growth as well?
I think that's a really important question right now is the value of independent eye care in our industry. And we're seeing things change globally. And we look at our neighboring countries in Australia or the UK, how eye care has changed a lot. And, there's a lot of our colleagues that are worried of where the future is going to be. And I don't think we have to worry. I think I've always believed that there's enough water in the jug to fill our cups. There's an avenue and a place for any type of optometry, be it corporate, be it independent or whatever may be in between. In my realm, I just not that I keep my blinders on. I just stay in my path. I keep on doing what I know to do best. Now, being independent, why it's important is number one is we can focus on personalized care a little bit more. We are local based, so it's feeding the local economy. I know in this time and age right now,
that's right.
Supporting local is really important. But we're also talking about supporting locally in the micro economies as well. We do things in our neighborhood. We are friends with the art gallery, the other healthcare providers in our street, in our neighborhood. We're part of the Chamber of Commerce and the business improvement associations. We get involved with the local business culture. And I think that's something you lose when you're not that independent business. So supporting local is very important, but it also helps grow that community. So you got personalized care, which allows for better patient satisfaction. You got the local community-based focus. And then there's the concept of control as well. A lot of my classmates, colleagues, and friends over the years that have either chosen not to go independent or have gone independent and allow their practice to go the way of venture capitalism or takeovers. The biggest complaint they have is they've lost control. It doesn't mean their clinic isn't doing well and isn't serving the community or a patient well, but sometimes you can control. And my nature is I like to have control.
Fair enough. That's good. No, it's good. So that makes sense. You can have control over essentially every decision that gets made in your practice, right?
Every decision, yeah.
So not essentially, every decision. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how Hoya has supported your practice. Tell me a little bit about where you think Hoya's come in to support your business to continue to grow to where it is now.
Yeah. We are still a very heavy retail focused business. So 50% of our growth still comes from the retail component. And if you divide that up further, a lot of that is our ophthalmic lens. And Hoya has been a great partner with us for the last 7-8 years now. And in the sense that I love the innovation that they've brought to the table. I'm all about keeping on top of technology and keeping up with innovation because that's one of the best ways to differentiate your business is through innovation.
Right.
So they are always providing us best options for coatings or best lens technologies to allow for better adaptation and for better patient satisfaction at the end of the day. When you sell a lens at that cost, you want them walking away happy and just saying, hey, that was a great experience and end product.
Yeah.
Not something that they're questioning or hesitant about, which will in turn limit the fact that they may not come to your business again.
Yeah.
So there's that innovation component. Number two, they really support us as a growth and education component, whether it's one-on-one team education or workshops. They've helped our team grow, understand all this technology, which allows them to better educate our patients. That's where the value proposition is.
That's awesome.
So for us to say, oh, it's just a good lens, we call it the good, better, best. But why? Let's explain what the value truly is. Right. So our support from Hoya has been phenomenal in educating our team and keeping up with that education as it goes along.
It's wonderful. That training is so valuable. You can't speak to a product truly, genuinely, unless you've been trained and understand like you said, the value proposition. And then otherwise, we're going to talk about this a bit more. For the patient, it just feels like you're just trying to sell them something that's more expensive
100%.
Without actually helping them see the benefit of it in their life and how it's going to change their life. So that's really great to hear that Hoya provides that. I can speak to that personally as well. We received the same kind of service and training from Hoya for our staff, and that's really valuable.
There's another component to that too. And let's not overlook outside of what they do as a company, but as a business owner, bottom line is important for us. Dollars and cents makes an importance to us. They offer us programs that allows us to really push into multi-pairs, selling to families, which at the end of the day allows us to leverage better price points, better margins, and better profitability.
100%. I was going to ask you about that later, but you brought it up anyways. Sorry. I love it. No, it's great. But those types of, actually, we can maybe elaborate a bit more on that, the value of that, those types of programs, like the second pair, multi-pair type of deals. What is that helping your staff do when it comes to making recommendations to patients?
It takes, doing this for 22 years, it takes a lot of effort on a continual basis to market and grow your business. You can't become complacent. Hey, I'm busy and I'm just going to stop my marketing efforts. You got to constantly evolve your growth input into that marketing efforts, because everybody has a little bit of a leaky bucket. So you got to make sure there's enough coming back in to fill that business and grow the business like we have. That being said, when you're putting that much effort into growing a business, you want to make sure that the patients are happy and that they're satisfied, and then there's growth in that capacity too. Now, I've actually forgot your question because I've diverted so quickly.
No, it's okay. So the program, the multi-pairs and things like that. So when it comes to your staff speaking to a patient, right, and making a recommendation, knowing that they have these multi-pair or whatever sales programs behind the scenes, how does that help that?
I know where I was going with this. We put all this effort into marketing our business, to bringing people into our practice. Once they're there, we want to obviously convert or capture these patients. And you're not going to get everybody. But once you get them, if you are able to convert into a second, third pair, that's where the greatest profitability is.
Yes.
And the best way to get that second, third pair is by offering deeper discounts on that multiple pair purchase. Now, when you have a lens company that's not supporting that, that affects your bottom line. But if they're supporting that multi-pair purchase mentality, that's where the profitability exists.
100%. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So multi-pair, that's actually a really important part of the conversation, which I was planning to touch on later, but we touch on it now. Definitely for profitability, for, capture rate, all these things. It's your, like you said, if you have the patient in front of you, the customer, the patient, the client in front of you, you're making the most of that opportunity by converting multiple pairs. And so Hoya is helping us do that by giving us these programs behind the scenes. Now, talk about premium. So multi-pair is an important part of the discussion for revenue and building a practice. Where does premium, of course, you have a beautiful practice and, you sell a lot of higher end frames and that kind of thing. But let's talk about the ophthalmic lens side. What does selling a premium product do for your patient retention and other ways of building your business?
It's a good question. I've always been in the mindset that when patients come to see me as their eye care provider, our job is to do and offer and give the best recommendations, best products, and best service in every caliber. It's not our responsibility to be so concerned about their pocketbook or what they can or cannot afford or what they can or cannot do. And that's one of the biggest downfalls when I'm sitting there mentoring our colleagues across Canada. I see this. People are just hesitant. Well, they may not be able to want to pay this. They can't afford this. This is not what they'd want. Well, our job is not that. Our job is truly to offer what's the best in product. And allow them to make decisions and give them options, but then allow them to make the decision. There's studies been done that in two different studies that said 80% in one study and 76% in the other study of people are willing to pay for the better technology or better innovation if they understand why. So I think that's where the gap is we need to just do a better job at educating why we recommend this best artificial tear, why we're recommending this best glaucoma medication, why we're recommending this better contact lens, or why we're recommending this better ophthalmic progressive lens. If they have that knowledge, the conversion and the capture rate is much higher.
Yes. And the capture rate is higher. Now, what about as far as retaining the patient or referrals? Do you find that that's greater when somebody has invested, let's say, in premium product versus something that's a bit more
You tend to see a better return engagement and return of patients in that case because they remember that you gave them the best of the best. They walked out of there feeling empowered by what they've chosen, the knowledge they know about why it's the better, and then their experience proves itself. And that's what you need. I mean, you just don't want to sell something at a premium price and it doesn't deliver on the end.
Right, absolutely.
And that's with Hoya. We know the lenses that we're getting is high caliber, it's top in class, and it's performing out there in our patients.
You need that faith in the product to do what it's supposed to do. Then you can, 100%. Again, speak to it with confidence.
100%.
I find in general, when we make these recommendations, I think a lot of our patients, a lot of people in general, myself included, we like to tell stories about the things that we've purchased or the experiences we've had. And when we do purchase something premium, we're likely to go tell our friends about it. Oh, this lens has got this feature. It's got this thing. It helps me do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think when we help people tell those stories, they basically become advertisements for us, right?
100%.
To promote us to their friends and their family. So I think there's some value in that as well.
And that use of the word right there, value. And I think that's what we got to key into, because in this economic climate, there is more awareness. There's more mindfulness of where we're putting our dollars and cents.
Sure.
Certain politicians say something and then the economy changes this much that quickly. Certain key figures,
certain politicians,
certain key public figures say something or do something, and all of a sudden, our economy is on the foots of this and that again.
Yeah, right.
So at the end of the day, as much as there's more of an awareness to spending, consumers are still willing to pay for value.
Yeah.
And that's what you said. If we can provide value through service, that patient-centric service, through top quality products, educating them why, and giving them some, competitive price or a discount or a promotion, people will pay for that value.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What's up, everybody? I just want to take a minute to thank our partner for this episode, Hoya Vision Care Canada. Simplify dispensing and elevate patient satisfaction with ID MyStyle 3, Hoya's most advanced, fully personalized progressive lens. A detailed visual profile questionnaire supports Hoya's cutting-edge technology, which generates a lens tailored to your patient's prescription, lifestyle, and visual habits. You will enjoy fewer redos, confident fittings, and stronger patient loyalty. Your patients will enjoy smoother interaction between visual zones, sharper focus, and improved visual comfort when reading, driving, or using digital devices. Hoya's ID MyStyle 3, advanced optics designed for your patients and your practice. Reach out to your Hoya rep to learn more. And now back to our episode with Dr. Pavan Avinashi. You touched on this already. I think I want to spend a bit more time on chatting with our colleagues about overcoming some of those fears and mental hurdles that we have about speaking or offering premium products and that type of thing in our practices.
Yeah.
You do see a lot of colleagues, you travel, you speak, you see a lot of people in person, and you have these conversations because you speak about premium contact lenses or whatever it is. You mentioned it. We sit there and sometimes we prejudge how much we think the person in front of us might be willing to pay or able to pay. Are you noticing other things, hesitations? What are we so afraid of?
I don't know. I look at our colleagues in the dental field, they've nailed this. They don't care. They just tell you what you pay and they do it. And they're taking the best care of you.
Yeah.
I think we have to adopt more of that mindset, is that we'll bring in the best diagnostics and therapeutics, and we're just going to recommend what we really feel this patient should have. And I think it's more to that. Circling back to what I said a little earlier, I think as long as we provide education and we provide options, then we're doing our job. Yep. Whether they choose, top class or next in class or bottom class, that's on them. But they need to walk away knowing that knowledge. Because the worst thing that can happen is that we just tell them something and they look at the price, they walk away.
Yes.
And then they talk to their friend and like, oh, guess what? I got this lens. It's, it has next to no reflection. It has no distortion. It was awesome. I had a great experience. But they don't talk about price. They talk about their experience with it.
Yeah.
Like you said, let our patients be our spokespeople of our business. Let them market our business based off the value that they have perceived from our business.
That's an excellent way of putting it. To go a little bit more granular on this, the patient experience when your staff are fitting premium progressive or something, do you have a digital way to take measurements? How do they do that? And what do you think the value is in that if you do that?
I mean, technology is always great. I'm not saying it always works. We have tried different devices in the past and with varying degree of successes, but I think things are evolving. I think we have, the conventional way of just measuring with a ruler and eyeballing it with pen. It's still tried, tested, improved way. But we're seeing advancements in technology with a lot of lens companies that way, which is nice.
So through our partnership with Hoya, we brought on the OptiCam, right? So we use that iPad. Now, OptiCam is a great product and we use it on a regular basis. But in the beginning, it took some training and it took our staff to get used to it. And it felt like it took longer.
Yeah.
And so I had to really encourage them to get used to it. Now they're getting onto it. It's more streamlined. They understand, posture, all this kind of stuff. And what I'll say is it helps to, again, provide that premium experience. Like, I get it. The dotting the thing, it works and we get it right. And it fits well and we're so used to doing it. I get it. But I think if we're going to try to elevate that experience a little bit, but then it became a bit of this like, okay, well, patient experience was cool. Staff experience, not so good. So how do we make sure both are getting a good experience?
Sometimes changing patterns of behavior in any capacity is difficult, whether it's with colleagues or within our team. But sometimes you have to just kind of persevere and constantly remind them and persist on making that change, and you will. But you're right, it does work. And creates a better patient experience.
Patient experience. Again, it's something like going back to experience and having them become our spokespeople, right? That I want them to be able to leave and say, well, that's the first time someone took my measurement that way. But then I have to make sure I took it right, and that the lens actually turns out the way it's supposed to turn out.
There's human error for sure.
There's human error.
Training is there.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I want to, going back to the providing value, the education, I think that's really the answer to the term that I think we're afraid of is selling or upselling, right? And I think if we know that we're coming from the right place and we're providing the education and showing the patient the value, the benefit, then it doesn't feel so much like selling.
Yes.
It's got to feel authentic, I think is ultimately hard. Exactly. If it doesn't feel right inside, then it's probably not going to sound right.
Exactly. It's about recommending. You are taking a doctor's recommendation. You're customizing a recommendation based off a patient's lifestyle needs and then providing them education. Education is a powerful tool. If you position it properly and you deliver it properly, then it's not salesy.
Yeah.
It becomes informing. Your eye care provider is providing you information on what's the best and the greatest in technology and what's the best and the greatest for you and your lifestyle needs.
Yeah. When you have this conviction and you feel you're confident and you believe it yourself, as you do, and our colleagues, when we speak that way to the patient, they can feel it. There's a bit of an energy transfer there, right? Versus like timidly, maybe we're not so sure when we're making our own recommendation. I think patients also feel that and they feel awkward about it too. So authentically feeling, and that goes back to what we were saying earlier with the training and really believing in the product and all of that kind of stuff. And then the patient sort of senses that from us as well.
Exactly.
So I think we've kind of covered it. I wanted to ask you, like, it starts to feel too transactional sometimes, right? It's like, well, here's the best, here's the, good, better, best, and here's the price.
Yeah.
But we have to start adding the value to the patient so they don't feel like it's a transaction so much, but they're actually getting something that's going to help improve their life. You have anything else you want to add to that?
I always tell patients there are hundreds and hundreds of different lens options out there. Say if we just hone in on progressive lenses, there are hundreds of different lens options.
Yeah.
And I tell them in our clinic, we have chosen to narrow that field down to what we feel is the best options. And we do have our good, better, best.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. And I think, it's providing options, educating and explaining what the difference is between the three, but also explaining why. Now, I also feel strongly, and I think you agree with this and a lot of my colleagues who are in the retail business of optometry, is that you pay for what you get when it comes to progressive lenses.
Right.
I could sell somebody a progressive lens for $150 or $180, but I know their experience may not be as optimal.
That's right.
I know their success may not be as optimal. Then you're spending more time problem solving, readjusting, explaining, and coaching a patient on how to adapt to a progressive lens.
That's so true.
So when you have technology that we do, especially with Hoya's providing us in the latest in innovation, we have that confidence. We're not walking away. Our non-adapt rates are very low. Our redo rates are very low, which is, again, further ratifying that the end experience is great and our confidence in the product is good.
That's excellent. I think that it's really good that you actually explained that there are so many varieties. I do the same, I'll say there's hundreds of designs and you can maybe just blindly pick one and maybe it'll be great for you, but we really got to make sure we're selecting the right lens for you.
Exactly.
And I'll do a little car. There's all sorts of analogies you could do, right? Shoes or cars. I like cars, so I do cars analogies and I'll say, every car has a steering wheel and has got four wheels and you can drive it from point A to point B, but it's not just about the brand or like a Mercedes versus a Honda, but a pickup truck is different than a sports car.
Right,
It's different than a minivan. Right? If you're going to drive 8 people across the country, you're not going to take a sports car.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to pick a minivan. So we got to figure out what is the function of your what are you doing day to day? What do we need to support you with? And that's what we're going to help you pick the design according to that. Now, let's say you want a really comfortable vehicle that you can just drive day to day and help you with, okay, now, cool. Do you want a Mercedes?
Yeah.
Cool. We got that.
Yeah.
Right? All right. Or are we talking more Honda? Okay. And then let's put you in that one.
100%.
So people seem to kind of resonate with that conversation a little bit.
And
again,
I like my cars, so I fully agree with it.
Yeah,
fully agree with it.
Pavan's like, I'll take the Porsche. Yes, electric Porsche. Yeah. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the handoff situation in your office.
Yeah.
So I know everybody does it differently. Can you describe a little bit, and what do you feel has been successful as far as handoff for the patient, that transition from exam room to optician?
Yeah, it's a great question as well. I do talk to a lot of our colleagues about this specific process of the patient journey, because I think it's imperative in patient education, patient understanding, and then capture and transition into something that may profit your business as well. I don't really feel personally there's a right or wrong whether the pass-off is done in exam room or in the dispensary or in the front office. But that's depending on the setup of your business and what works best for your staff. That's independent. And I haven't read any studies on which one is favored over the other. So I think that's that's personal.
Sure.
But what's important as a clinician, as a doctor, is to do one of three things, is to do a pass-off. I think
Actually handoff, yes.
you'd be surprised how
Really?
many colleagues don't do any type of formal
okay,
pass off.
I got
And
you.
I honestly think just leaving notes in the EMR and letting the staff take off is not sufficient.
Yeah.
In our clinic, we go to the formality of, we have a specialized checklist that it's a tear off that we pass off. And some people do like a little rub off things to be a little more green friendly, environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
And just kind of top line things that you want your staff to deliver on, whether it's just pre-appointing them for their annual exam or ordering them just trial contact lenses or a specific artificial teardrop you want them to talk about, or a couple of promotions on lenses that you know that'll be pertinent to what their visual needs are.
Got you. That's good.
In an exam room, they say, and this is something I've implemented in my practice for 20 years, is you want to repeat your recommendation 3 times.
3 times. Okay.
Now, remember, the average person comes in for an eye exam every 3.7 years.
Okay.
When they come in and they hear the word stigma or stigmatism, however they want to perceive it, for them, that's a big deal. They think something's wrong. When they hear you have dry eye, they think something's wrong. When we talk about it 15, 20 times a day, times 300 days a year.
Yeah.
So it becomes common rhetoric for us. But we have to realize that this is something alarming. When we're imposing a lot of information, hey, this is a summary of your exam, a lot of it may not be retained or understood. So repeating it 3 times allows the high-end points to be remembered by these patients. So whenever I'm going through my exam, be it the refraction as I started with, then I'll repeat after, Mrs. Jones, your eyes are doing great. There's a little change in your reading prescription as I demonstrated. I will recommend that we upgrade your office progressives or get another pair of reading glasses. Then I'll go on to the anterior segment and then I'll recap that. At the end of the exam, I will take it at a higher level, kind of a summary point and recap. Mrs. Jones, it was a great visit. I'm so glad that we saw you today. We are going to see you back in 2 years. I don't need to see you sooner because your eyes are doing so great. But as we talked about, definitely think I'd recommend updating those reading glasses and that artificial tear for that episodic, like that intermittent dry that you're talking about. So you're recapping that again. And then the third time is when you actually officially do that pass off. And even if I'm writing on a little sticky note to my staff, which holds them accountable, and if they get busy, they can circle back to that. You're reminding the patient in front of the staff what they need to do.
Right.
And it creates a little bit more formality in allowing them to deliver on our recommendations.
That's amazing advice. I really appreciate that insight. The 3 times. I'm trying to think as you were talking, I was like, okay, pretty sure I definitely got 2 times down. I think I got 3.
Get up your game, buddy.
I got up my game. I definitely, but no,
knowing this next year, my years will be like, I do it 4 times.
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm going to give them, even before the exam starts, I'm going to tell them what they need. Then in the middle, then at the end. But I definitely do 100%, I think now that I'm thinking about it, it's 3, with just a similar actually timing as you when I finished the refraction. Sometimes I go into a bit too much detail after the refraction. The patient thinks the exam's done.
You're right.
Because I'm just wrapping that up. They're like, cool, am I done? No, hang on. Let's do the health side of things. Then a recap at the end of the exam. And then definitely when I go outside and I'm passing it off to the optician. I think it's really important for the patient to hear us telling somebody else. Right. And now they know, and this person also knows what we're talking about.
It creates accountability.
Accountability. I like that's a good word. That's a good word. So it's good to hear, but I appreciate you putting it that way. And I think that's going to help many of our colleagues out there to streamline that process a little bit. I think we talked about a lot of stuff, man. We talked about how you built your business, some of the key factors there. I'm going to go back and try to remember that. Correct me if I'm wrong now. Okay. Culture. Differentiation. What was the first one?
Patient-centric.
Patient-centric, of course. Very, very important. We talked about how premium products, premium lenses has been a big part of the growth of your 100%. Practice. And what else? Did we miss anything? Anything we think we needed to share that we haven't shared yet?
No, I think we've covered a lot. And I know you and I could probably just go off on a tangent and talk about anything and everything for the next little while. But I think we're very fortunate to have some great industry partners in our profession. And I think it's important to leverage your relationship with whether it's the rep or them as a whole, because they are willing to support your growth a lot. Whether it's a frame company, a lens company, a contact lens company, or artificial, it's in their best interest to see you grow. And by leveraging what they are willing to offer you and support you, like Hoya does for our business, it's allowed us to better service our patient, better grow our business, and keep our staff more educated and improve team culture by knowing what they're talking about.
100%. Absolutely. I think that's such an important note for us to mention. And I say this actually, when I give a lecture on myopia management or on dry eye, at the end of the thing, I'll kind of talk about, here's some steps that I would recommend to kind of start this in your practice. And one of the last things I always say is to make sure you develop that relationship with your reps and industry partners.
100%.
And I always joke that I used to hide from my reps, but now I
still hide from a couple of them.
Some of them. Yeah. So I say this generally, and then people are like, really? All of them? No. I say I used to hide from them and now I hug them, right? But that's maybe not. There's like There's a few that we still don't hug, but but the point is that I really am fond of those relationships and they've been really valuable for us to grow our practice. That's been amazing, man. But there's a question that I like to ask on the podcast that I've been doing a bit more consistently lately. And I didn't prime you for this, but I'll give you some time to think about it.
Thank you.
There's, you have young boys.
Yes.
They watch Disney movies a little bit.
No, we've moved way beyond that. Yeah, no.
Well, in the past they have.
Okay, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Have they seen Moana? Have you seen Moana?
Yes, I have. They have two, though.
There's two now. Yeah. But the older one, the first one, which came out, I don't know, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a character, he's in both movies, but his name is Maui.
Okay.
The one that Dwayne Johnson plays that character. And he's got a song in the first movie that's called You're Welcome. And so I have all my guests sing that song. I'm just kidding. But the point of that song is he's egotistical and he's like, you're welcome. I give you all these nice things. Yeah. This is your opportunity to share something, one really powerful, impactful thing, whether it's a quote, a piece of advice. I know you shared a lot of good stuff already.
Yeah.
But one thing that you think has maybe changed your life that might change somebody else's. All right. I'll give you time to think about it. But when you're done, I'm going to say thank you. And you're going to say, you're welcome. Okay. Cool. So we're going to do you're welcome.
Hey, it's okay, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So, Bob, if you got it, you could take a second. What's one thing that you want to share that you think could help improve our lives?
As busy as life can get, and we all have busy lives. I don't think mine's any busier than the others. With kids and life and social and running the businesses, I think it's very important to stop every now and then, just stop and smell the roses.
I like that.
And I think it's good for mental health, physical health, emotional health, and allows you to be a better person, a better friend, a better father, and a better practitioner as well.
It's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, it's okay, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes. When you say stop and smell the roses, what does that mean for you? Certain activities?
Yeah.
What is it? Taking a vacation? What kind of stuff?
Yeah, anything. It could be anything. I'm just stopping in the middle of that bridge that you're hiking in the middle of the day just to get a good workout in and just look around and observe where you're at.
Just absorb it.
To pause wherever you're at in that chaos of the day and just say, hey, you know what? So much to be grateful at and everything is good. And even if there may be stress involved, you got this. To, be running around the kids from activity to activity and stopping and just watching them in their chaos and their happiness and just realize the beauty and the innocence of who they are. It's about stopping in your business and just looking at, hey, this is what you've created after 22 years. It's stopping to smell the roses.
I love that, Mel. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Best way. I think we're going to keep that as the end of the podcast. Thank you, Pavan. I appreciate it, man, for always coming on and supporting the podcast.
Anytime, man.
And thank you to Hoya Vision Care Canada for supporting the podcast, for supporting the profession, for supporting our clinic. Always grateful for everything they do. And thank you to everybody who's listening and watching the 2020 podcast, Canada's #1 optometry podcast. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
This guy gives the best hugs, too.
Oh, yeah. Hugs.